Welcome back to MVM. Today we're going to give you a pseudo review, and I say pseudo review because we've only played 5 scenarios. However, we think we've played enough to understand the basic concept of the game. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So a pseudo review of this one. It's called The Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. It's the new game from FFG that kind of falls in line with all their dungeon crawlers like Descent 2.0, Imperial Assault, all those style of games. However, this game has been built from the ground up, so it's not adding an app later. It feels like the app was built with the game in mind. So a lot of things have changed, and it's really dynamic now the way the game plays with the app itself. So, as we said, we played 5 scenarios. We have no idea how many scenarios are actually in the base game that you buy off the shelf. We're kind of exploring it as you go. But let's talk about the actual game itself and what you're doing. So it's taken from The Lord of the Rings. You're actually playing with some of the real characters and some of the characters that are pulled either from the novels or from some of the fiction from the previous games like Middle-earth Quest. You'll play with like Eleanor and Bearvor and people like that. I'm playing Legolas. You're playing...
I'm Aragorn.
And you're playing Elena. Elena. So the cool thing is, at the start of the game, you get to pick any of those characters that you wish to play with, but you also get to pick like a role.
Yeah, a class, almost. They have a suggested class, but you can actually play outside of your character's class and kind of experiment a little bit with that.
And in fact, once you pick your class, you'll get a deck of cards that's interjected into your character cards as well, or skill cards. However, through the journey, you can actually change roles. So you can go from a hunter, which I am to start off the game, to maybe a pathfinder, or a guardian, or captain like Aragorn is, or a musician like Elena is. And all of these skills are going to have something very inherent to your character. So I'm very good as a hunter of picking people off. I can do massive damage, which is
that
really
makes
cool.
sense for Legolas.
Yeah, and you're the captain.
And the captain who just kind of boosts everybody else, gives other people free actions and attacks and things like that, which is really cool.
And the musician?
Oh, I'm all about morale. I inspire everyone and just help people along the way, which actually turned out to be a lot more powerful than I thought it would be.
All right, so the idea is that you are journeying through Middle-earth, and you're doing it in 2 different ways. You have the journey map, which is pre-created by the app itself, and this is going to change depending upon the scenario. And then you have these 2 boards here that are called the quote-unquote battle maps. And these battle maps will change up the scenario. So you may go from a journey to the second scenario, which is a battle map. Those are going to reflect like taverns or inns or hideouts or caves. So it changes the structure, and you're going to be building this out with tables and statues and bushes and all these things you can interact with.
Yeah, if it wasn't clear, the journey map is definitely a more macro, zoomed out look where you're actually exploring a huge open world.
Yeah,
and those combat maps are just very tight, clustered. You're basically fighting wave after wave of guys coming at you, and they're very different experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to get a stack of 22 of those journey map tiles. These are double-sided, so they're going to, as you see here, relate to some of the outdoor environments. Each of these are going to be broken into different sections, but they also, on the other side, could possibly have more terrain or even indoor segments like dungeons that you're going to be exploring, or caves and things like that, halls. Each player is going to be represented by a miniature, and you see a bunch of the enemy miniatures as well. I believe these are going to also have expansions and booster packs, just like with any of their other ones that you can add to interject new enemies into your scenario. There's also a ton of cards. The whole game is run by mini cards. And those mini cards come in a variety of different things. However, each player is going to come to the table with a deck. And that deck is going to consist of 14 cards plus 1 weakness card, which is kind of like a card, when it comes up, it does nothing for you. It's your inherent weakness. All these weakness cards are different, and they all look different, which is really cool. However, the deck of cards that you come to the game with are your hero cards. So if I'm playing Legolas, I have a stack of cards that's for Legolas, and those can be upgraded through the game. I have a stack of cards that are my role, so I am the hunter, and those can be upgraded through the game. And then you have a stack of cards that are basic to everybody. These are cards that typically allow you to do your skill checks a little bit better by discarding them through the game.
Yeah, and there's also, you're going to have items. Every character starts with a certain set of starting items, but you can actually kind of exchange those at the start, and you don't have to go with the suggested items. And these items can get upgraded over the course of the campaign. And we've played 5 missions. We've seen several items be upgraded so far, and we have peaked at some of the high-level items, and they're pretty crazy.
Well, And the items are upgraded as we gain lore. So every time we're doing stuff in our our reputation basically is being heard throughout the land, we're gaining more lore, and that lore is allowing us. And so then at the end of a scenario, we see our little item turn like flashy white. And we're like, ooh, it's time to upgrade our items.
Yeah,
So-
that's super cool. Like everything that you do in the game typically gives you lore, which is tracked in the app, which is so cool.
Yeah, everything you do is tracked in the app.
And then
really
you,
well.
as Kira alluded to, those items are going to be upgraded. And it's not just one item. You just go from this item to this item. Sometimes it gives you a list of things. And you can just look through that deck and say, oh, I have these 3 choices. Depending on my role, what do I want to be for my party? How can I best evolve my character to do something?
You can definitely build a role here because, like you said earlier, you can switch between these different classes, and your experience is actually linked to that class and is tracked by which class you are.
Yeah.
So you can mix and match, and any card that you earn stays with it basically becomes a character card no matter what role you are. So you can have cards from every class.
And to give you an idea, we're in the 5th scenario, and we've played 7 hours of this game so far. We're only at about 29 lore, and there's lore in there that are 127 plus. So you can imagine how expansive things are going to get with this game.
Yeah.
2 other kind of cards that I haven't even mentioned that also are tied into your cards. There's titles, and then there are trinkets. We haven't even seen trinkets yet.
No.
Well, imagine we'll find them eventually. They're probably things like relics and things, but there's also titles. When you meet certain people in the game, they're like red herrings. They're all over the board, and you're like, do I go talk to this person, or is it just wasting our time? If you do talk to them, they may lead to something that gives you a title. And that title is going to flash in the app and give it to a very specific person. And that's a new card they're going to have that they can use once per adventure to be able to do something fun.
Yeah, and if anybody that's watching this, if you've played Mansions of Madness, you'll kind of understand how this works. The way these tokens come out, there are more search tokens on the board than you will be able to look at.
Yeah.
So some of these things are just going to get missed, and you're going to have entire plot lines that you never really uncover, and that's just kind of built into the game experience.
Some of the other cards in the game are your damage and your damage, and then your fear, yes, or treachery. These are the 2 types of damage that you can take, and it's not done with tokens. It's done like mansions. It's done with cards, and these cards have a face down side, which are just direct damage, and there's times you have to flip them up and do something special with your character. There's also something called Last Stand in the game, which is really, really unique. You have to complete your scenario. However, if you die, you get one final chance to be able to do a skill check to live. If you don't, everyone has one more turn to be able to complete that objective, or you lose. One of the great things about this game that I really enjoy is it's not like Imperial Assault, it's not like Descent. You don't go back and replay the mission. You just progress through the campaign.
Yeah.
So whether you win or lose, the story is always progressing. And that's going to either help you or hurt you depending upon what you do.
Well, and at the end of each scenario, and you alluded to this a little bit ago, we're also gaining experience. So that's separate from the lore, and that's how we're upgrading our skills, cards, whatever they may be, depending on our character.
Yeah, and it tells you kind of what happens when you either you pass or fail. And some of these missions, at least in our experience so far, has had multiple objectives. And we may fail one of the objectives but complete another, and it changes the path of the story. Now, how drastically different that path is, we have nothing to compare it to.
Right.
But it definitely feels like our story has been tailored to the decisions we've made so far.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about the actual gameplay itself, and then we'll get into the review. What are you doing in the game? You are basically searching things, trying to complete objectives, and how you do that is by actions. On each player's turn, which constitutes a round, each player gets to decide who wishes to take their actions that round. It can change. I can go first one round, Kira could go first the second round. On your turn, you're allowed 2 actions, and those actions are very basic. It's travel, which allows you to move 2 spaces, and you can split up that movement. You can move 1 space, do something, and then move your final space. You can also attack. That's probably the thing you're going to do most within the game. And there's also interact. That's interacting with characters, search tokens, threat tokens on the board, a wide variety of things that you may interact with. You're basically doing one of those 3 things twice, and that's it. That's the turn. It's one of the other great things about the game. It's so condensed. And you're going to just keep doing that until you complete the mission or one of the players dies, and then you have one more turn to do so.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about our review, and we'll talk about some of the more other things in the game when we talk about the review. All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first because I've played Mansions and Imperial Assault and Descent and everything. This game definitely feels like the culmination of everything they've learned from those games coming into one. It's got the best parts of Mansions of Madness. The combat is super smooth. Like everything about this game just feels tight and very well balanced. And as you said earlier, very integrated with the app. It doesn't feel tacked on at all.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I just really liked about this right off the bat in comparison to, say, Imperial Assault, which I was really excited to play. I love Star Wars, but the lack of dice. I definitely know that there's some people that are going to go the other way on this, but I love that those are removed from this and that everything is self-contained in the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the way that attacks and tests are resolved, but it's very cool because that deck of cards that you build, every card has a symbol, either a success, a failure, or an inspiration symbol, which you can turn into a success if you spend inspiration, kind of like a clue token in Mansions of Madness. So as you're building your deck and adding cards to it, you don't want to just pick cards that have great abilities. You also want to pay attention to whether you're adding another success to your deck or not, because you're going to be drawing these cards and looking for those successes every time you basically do anything in the game.
Yeah, that's the number one thing for me, is it takes the dice out of the game. It still has that random element of luck. However, at the beginning of each one of the rounds, or at the end of each round, you get to scout. And you get to scout 2. That means you take the top 2 cards of your deck and you look at them. You can decide which one you want to prepare, and you place it underneath of your player board. That's a skill that you get to use until it goes away.
Yeah.
So it's something that's ongoing. The other card you can place on the top of your deck, or you can place on the bottom of your deck. It's up to you. And you're going to be holding at least up to 4 of those prepared actions underneath of you. Those are the cards that are going to have the text and be able to trigger. Everything else in your deck is just the modifier for combat or an interact or something. And you could actually manipulate those as well by placing them in the right area, scouting more during your turn from particular actions. There's a lot of ways to manipulate that through the game. That feels very Euro-like and more like Gloomhaven, which is why I love Gloomhaven so much, is because it takes the dice out of the game and it lets you control it just a little bit more than you can with dice.
I think you have a lot of control and a lot of interesting decisions to make, because when you do scout and you draw a card and you say, oh, this is a great ability, I want to put this card under my player board. If it's a success, you're taking that success out of your deck.
Right.
So if you only have 6 successes in your whole deck and you have 3 of them out in front of you,
then you're relying on your inspiration.
Right. So it makes every decision challenging. You really agonize, oh man, if I put this on the top of my deck, you could basically set it up so that your first action, you know you're going to draw a success right off the bat.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, knowing, hey, I'm going in, this is an easy test, I know I've got this one based on my skill in this area, based on what I saw when I was scouting. Doesn't always work out that way, but that extra piece of preparation going in gives you the confidence you need to make the decision on what you're going to do in your turn.
Well, that's why I liked Aragorn. That character, as a captain, scouts a lot and lets everyone scout a lot. So we were really having a lot of opportunities to search through our deck for the cards we needed. But again, you can prepare for whatever, but you don't know what's going to happen. Because you might prepare for your attack, and then Kieran might trigger an event, and all of a sudden I'm drawing these cards for a skill test that now I've passed, but now my attack is going to fail. Yeah. So it's still random, but you can control it.
Yeah, that duality in the cards is really, really fun to play with. Not only to mention that you can upgrade those cards. You're going to start with 15 of them in your deck, but through the course of the game, you're going to be able to get experience, which allows you to buy more roll cards, which means inherently you're adding more cards into your deck and diluting it, but some of those cards may have really strong abilities that when you prepare them, they're great. They give you instant strikes or cleaves or things like that. But they also, some of them have hits as well on them. So it's that duality in the game. How do I plan? What do I prepare? What do I keep in my deck? It's really fun. It's really interesting for people that don't like dice chucking. And again, that's probably, some people are going to go against that and say, where are my dice? I want my dice. For me, that is the number one best thing about this game.
Yeah, and if you are one of those people that says, where are my dice? I still challenge you to give this a try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the system is very accessible and it just feels very satisfying when you draw, several hits in a row and do just a ton of damage on your attack. It's really cool.
All right, so we've talked about the gameplay. We all like the gameplay.
Yeah.
The other great thing about this is the app itself. This app has been built from the ground up for this game. It doesn't feel like it was tacked on later. It feels like everything is integrated right there in the app. The technology behind it is fascinating. The voiceovers are great. The building out of the maps itself, there's some 3D elements that pop up on those battle maps that make you feel like, right now it looks like a flat terrain, but when you see it in the screen, those are walls, and you'll see the walls, you'll see the barrels, you'll see the tables pop up. And there's even this is one of the best things we found so far. The way that the journey is segregated from what we found so far is, at least it goes from journey map to battle map to journey map to battle map to journey map. So you never feel like it's stale in the game. Plus, one of the scenarios added deduction. Like, we're trying to deduce something in the game. Like, it changed the gameplay completely. We're talking to people. We're trying to figure out who is this, don't want to give away spoilers, but who this particular person that we're trying to find is. It changed the way that you approached the game and the way you moved and the way you interacted and all those things. And it kind of just said, okay, we've done a lot of battling. Now it's time to do something different. And it provided that for you.
Yeah, and just the way the app presents information is very intuitive, very easy to follow. Everything is right there, like nothing's hidden on the screen. And one of the cool things we didn't talk about is the shadow track, and you have a certain number of turns basically to complete your scenario, and the app will put little indicators up there saying something crazy is going to happen when you get to 15 shadow. And every turn you're trying to mitigate that to create the least amount of shadow possible, but you can't. So sometimes you're getting 12, 15 shadow.
And that should be very familiar to people that played the Lord of the Rings LCG game, because it also has that same type of that time aspect to it, where you're trying to do things. You have a good fair amount of time to get stuff done, but there is that restriction. You'll see that ticker and you'll be like, we got to close down some locations. We have to get rid of some threat because we're going to hit that. We don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, we needed one of the missions with one time left on that clock.
Yeah, that's another great thing is the difficulty of the game. It's not easy. We're playing 3 players and we failed twice, I think.
Twice out of the 5.
Five? Yeah.
So the other thing that I thought was really interesting was that when you're going through, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but the deduction scenario for us was because of what our last scenario did. It totally was because of how our outcome turned out that we ended up having to do the deduction, which was great. And it was like, okay, so are we going to see this if we play it again?
Right.
We may not. And I found that very satisfying.
And just to give a spoiler away, and during the deduction, we didn't find out what happened. So it ended up in combat. I wonder what would happen if we had actually found the person we were looking for.
We'll never know, right?
We'll never know, because you just keep pressing on, which is fantastic.
Right, and we've had characters that we've met that have come and gone. We've had characters that have died on us that we're never going to see again.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? I would be interested to talk to other people that have played this and see if that character might have been set to reappear, but we failed to protect them. And so that kind of thing can happen. With an app, they have that ability to surprise you. Like, with these huge epic storylines, and there's a lot of voice acting and things like that in the app, and with the music and the sound effects, like, you definitely feel like you're in Middle Earth, and just it's a cool story that feels like it was made just for you.
Yeah. You guys have anything else to say before I wrap it up? No?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that we all had a great time playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard to, as we said, we've only played this 5 times, the 5 of the scenarios. If we were to rate it right now, this would absolutely 100% be a MVM approved game. Looking forward to finishing out the scenario. No idea how long it is, but this is the one game that has me more excited than Imperial Assault or Descent or any of those other games. I played all of them. I liked them, but I love this one.
Yeah, this takes, like I said earlier, all the best of all those things.
Yeah.
And puts it in Lord of the Rings, which is, for me at least, one of my favorite IPs.
Yeah.
So.
Ready to go on another adventure, right?
Right.
I'm going on an adventure. If you guys have any questions, make them in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and we will catch you guys next time.